Malachi, thank you. They save some of our most vulnerable from adult predators. Investigators in Greenville County who work on child sex crimes, they have a tough job, but 7 News has learned the job is getting tougher.
With an increase in cases and a short staffing problem, their crimes against children and internet crimes against children units are struggling to keep up.
And 7 News reporter Kirsten Glavin is joining us live at 7 on Main with this original report. Kirsten. We've learned the name of 2 men from the upstate who died when their small plane crashed into a lake in Florida. The Orange County medical examiner says Stanley Rampey and Raymond Dodd died. We were previously told both men were from Seneca. They were the only 2 on board. The plane went down yesterday morning in Maitland. That's a suburb of Orlando. It took crews hours to find the wreckage and pull it out of the water late last night. And we now know the name of the man who died at a waterfall in western North Carolina. The Buncombe County Sheriff's Office says the body of Sterling Swinton was found at Reams Creek Falls. It took hours for crews from across the area to find and retrieve the remains. We're told the investigation into what happened is continuing. Swinton was 28 years old.
We learned late today that a pregnant woman who was killed in Asheville last night was a recent witness in a murder trial currently in progress.
7 News reporter Ben Hoover has been following this story all day. He joined us live in Asheville with more details. Ben, do investigators have any indication or any suspects at this time? All right, Ben, thank you for that report. A jury in Lexington has sentenced a father to death after he was convicted of killing his 5 children. Timothy Jones Jr. was found guilty last week. Jurors could have sentenced him to life in prison without parole, but after less than 2 hours of deliberation, they decided on the death penalty. But first, a quick check of traffic before you head out tonight. This is I-85 at I-385 in Greenville County. Looking like some slowdown right there. Stay put. 7 News Live at 5 continues next. What's next for state-owned utility company Santee Cooper? After going into billions of dollars in debt, whatever South Carolina lawmakers decide to do next will affect customers statewide.
Boy, what a day out there. I started mine with a nice walk around the neighborhood, a little exercise.
Good day for it, and the best thing about it is the humidity has been low. We've seen lots of sunshine, and it's been dry.
Kind of puts you in a good mood when the weather is this nice. Makes you happy.
It really
How happy we all are.
Here's the thing. It's always nice that we have the same weather pattern for a few days.
Thank you. And Fall Greenville board members announced today that $45,000 will be awarded to 6 nonprofit organizations through its Fall for Giving program. Board members also revealed a new logo with this year's title sponsor, Bank of America. Benefiting charities include the Salvation Army, Gateway House, Thrive Upstate, Greenville Technical College, Boy Scouts Troop 266, and Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Upstate. Board member Kenneth Dillard explained that the festival's success allows the program to give back to local charities. Dillard says the festival has donated over $680,000 to local charities over the past 15 years. This year's festival is October 10th through the 13th. So we hear it all the time. Don't eat this, don't eat that. It'll cause cancer. But which of those claims should we be actually worried about?
As part of our Ask the Expert series,
7 News reporter Nickelle Ford has the story. That was Nickelle Ford reporting a total of 47 cats, 13 dogs, and 6 puppies were all seized. They're calling the situation a hoarding case, and this is actually the 3rd hoarding case for Anderson County PAWS in just 2 weeks. Coming up at 6, you'll see exclusive video of cats being taken out of a home after a welfare check, and hear how the cases are taxing the resources at that shelter. The number for Anderson PAWS is on your screen, and you can find a link for the shelter and more information on WSPA.com. Today's World Elder Abuse Awareness Day in the town of Lyman held an event to help show more about the problem. The Appalachian Council of Governments and the State Department of Aging partnered for the event. A Wallet Hub study last December showed South Carolina had the worst elder abuse protections in the country.
So honestly,
the event was held this afternoon at the Lyman Event Center. Tensions are flaring again with Iran after 2 oil tankers were reportedly attacked in the region just a month after the U.S. accused Iran of sabotaging 4 other ships. Iranian state media claims this is the aftermath of the overnight attack. You can see the flames there. It happened in the main artery for transporting oil from the Middle East. The owner of one of the vessels, a Japanese ship, says 2 shells hit the tanker, setting fire to the engine room. A second Norwegian ship was reportedly hit by a torpedo. Everyone on board got out safely. The attack comes as the Japanese Prime Minister visits Iran's capital on a high-stakes diplomatic mission.
Iran to them.
Iran's supreme leader says America's president is not capable of having honest negotiations. President Donald Trump says he doesn't want war with Iran and is aiming for direct talks. Next on 7 News Live at 5, as millions of students graduate high school and prepare to move to the next stage of their lives, we have tips to help them stay on track with their finances. As millions of high school graduates get ready to collect their diplomas, it's time to prepare them for the next phase of their lives. Whether they're headed to college or into the workforce, CBS News business analyst Joel Schlesinger has financial tips. With 3 days until Father's Day, there are still a lot of great gifts out there for the procrastinators.
Yeah, listen to these, I'd go.
My goodness.
That's more than 24 feet tall. There's no word on how much that's going to cost, but yeah, won't we all want one?
Yeah, that's a big TV.
That would be amazing. It would actually put you in the action if you're
my
watching
gosh.
sports or anything, really.
But the weather's so nice, you don't need a TV right now. Just go outside.
I like how you say that. Absolutely. It's going to be that way right into the weekends.
It's back. Reynolds Wrap is looking for a chief grilling officer once again. Sign me up, Tom.
Yeah, that sounds great, doesn't it? The main duties involve traveling around the U.S., testing and eating barbecue.
Yeah. Florida officials set some of America's longest snakes loose. You're probably thinking, why would they want to do that? Well, it's part of an ongoing effort by the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. 15 eastern indigo snakes were set free in a nature preserve near Tallahassee. The goal is to reestablish the threatened non-venomous snake as a predator in the region. Eastern indigo snakes are North America's longest, growing to over 8 feet long. More shakeup at the Malden Police Department tonight. 2 more employees are off the job. As we first reported on WSPA.com, state documents obtained by 7 News show an officer and a 911 employee were fired earlier this month. They saved some of our most vulnerable from adult predators. Investigators in Greenville County who work on child sex crimes have a tough job, but 7 News has learned the job is getting tougher with an increase in cases and a short staffing problem. Their crimes against children and internet crimes against children units are struggling to keep up. 7 News reporter Kirsten Glavin has more on this original report. Investigators also have a lot on their plates when it comes to mental health as they deal with some of these horrific cases. Crimes and internet crimes against children units do have companions like Sergeant Willow to keep their spirits up. Golden Doodle is the first full-time law enforcement therapy dog in the upstate. Investigators also have access to counseling. So far this year, February was the worst month for the Crimes Against Children unit, which opened 92 cases. Everyone is okay after a house went up in flames in Anderson. Crews say they were called to this home on Wednesday. They say they believe it all started with a cigarette. When they arrived, they found over 60 animals inside the home.
Nobody ever.
All those cats, dogs, and a litter of puppies were taken to Anderson County Paws. Now, this hoarding case is one of 3 that the Anderson County Paws Shelter has responded to in just the last 2 weeks. As millions of high school graduates get ready to collect their diplomas, it's also time to prepare them for the next phase of their lives. Financial experts say while this generation may be more comfortable with peer-to-peer money transfer apps like Venmo or Cash App, you will still need to establish a relationship with the actual bank. You can do that with an online institution, brick-and-mortar outlet, or even a credit union. Experts say parents should use this time to provide graduates with a lesson in compound interest and insidious fees such as overdraft protections and also electronic bill paying. The South Carolina Department of Transportation and Highway Patrol say they are both investigating after an Anderson County sanitation worker was killed on the job. We're told it happened around 6:15 this morning on Pitt Street in Honeypath. The coroner says town workers were picking up trash when the driver of the sanitation truck backed over a worker by mistake. The worker was rushed to the hospital but died. He's been identified as Richard Ernest Smith. He was 49 years old. 7 News reporter Ann Maxwell spoke with the man who was hurt. She joined us live at 7 on Main with more. Ann.
Nickelle.
Do you know how much a stay is going to be costing, Ann? We have continuing coverage on the toddler that was hit and killed last night on a busy road in Spartanburg County. 2-year-old Julian Nichols had been living with his grandparents on New Cut Road in Inman when he somehow slipped out the front door as they were getting ready for church on Wednesday evening. His grandmother says his aunt lived across the street, and despite warning him never to cross without an adult, she thinks Julian was trying to visit his cousins.
And I loved him.
A friend of the family has set up a GoFundMe page to cover his funeral costs, and we have a link to that on WSPA.com. Meanwhile, the Highway Patrol has not charged the driver, and they are still investigating. Today, a jury sentenced a man to death for murdering his 5 children. Timothy Jones Jr. was found guilty of strangling and beating his 5 children to death at his home in Red Bank, South Carolina in 2014. Jones then drove around for 9 days before he eventually dumped the bodies in rural Alabama. The jury's decision was read aloud in court today. Timothy Jones Jr. was found guilty last week. Jurors could have sentenced him to life in prison without parole, but after less than 2 hours of deliberation, they decided on the death penalty. More shakeup at the Malden Police Department tonight. State documents show 2 employees were fired for lying about a sexual relationship that happened while at work. On June 4th, the city administrator terminated Officer LaQuindon Counts and telecommunications worker Calandra Dawson. Dawson and Counts were questioned at least 2 times since March and were dishonest about workplace relationships that were sexual in nature, and in turn were fired for misconduct. 5 other employees, including 4 officers and a telecommunications worker, resigned within days of Dawson and Counts' termination. The employees that quit were not cited for misconduct. An animal hoarding situation was discovered in Anderson after crews were called to a house fire. Fire personnel responded to the home, but when they arrived and entered the house to battle the fire, they found 47 cats, 13 dogs, and 6 puppies. All the animals were seized by animal control and brought to the Anderson Paws Animal Shelter. While some are burned, others are sick, and the shelter is asking the community for help. As part of our Ask the Expert series in partnership with Bon Secours St. Francis Health, 7 News' Jennifer Martin talked to an oncologist about the top 7 things that scientists believe could cause cancer. To hear more from experts at Bon Secours on this health topic and others, listen every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on 106.3 WORD Radio. And don't forget to submit your health questions for our series. Just go to WSPA.com, click on the News tab, and then click Ask the Expert. A dog fight has left a Taylor's man injured, his dog in intensive care, and his neighbor's dog in the custody of animal control.
This happened Tuesday. Deputies say the dog responsible for the attack has been declared a dangerous animal.
7 News' reporter Ann Maxwell spoke with the man who was hurt. She joins us live at 7 on Main with more. Ann.
Nickelle.
A sanitation worker in Honeypath is dead after what the Anderson County coroner calls a freak accident. It happened this morning around 6:15 on Pitt Street. Coroner Greg Shore says Honeypath town workers were picking up trash cans when the driver of a town sanitation truck mistakenly backed over one worker. The worker was rushed to the hospital, but he died. The South Carolina Department of Transportation and Highway Patrol are also investigating the accident. An autopsy revealed the worker died from blunt force trauma. New tonight, several fire departments responded to a fire at the Michelin plant on International Drive in Spartanburg County. The North Spartanburg Fire Battalion chief says the fire was in a volt transformer and says it didn't spread. Authorities say the transformer was damaged, but there is no damage to the building. Also, no one was hurt. The future of state-owned utility company Santee Cooper is still unclear. In February, lawmakers reviewed bids to buy the company that is more than $7 billion in debt. But now lawmakers want to take that process a step further. A law was passed that requires the Department of Administration to look at all proposals, including offers to buy, manage, and reform the company. Lawmakers have also set criteria to protect customers from rate hikes.
But we want to see where we.
The Department of Administration will have to present one final bid for each option: purchase, manage, or reform by January 15. The state's cooperatives buy more than 50% of Santee Cooper's power. Investigators in Greenville County who work on child sex crimes have a tough job, but 7 News has learned the job is getting tougher. While the cases keep coming in, we're told the crimes against children and internet crimes against children units are struggling to take all of them on. Just last year, crimes against children reported opening more than 860 cases. Internet crimes, which primarily investigates child porn, had about 300 cases.
Daily.
5 investigators are currently with crimes against children when it should be an 8-person unit. But Beaver says they can't find enough people to fill the positions. Coming up next at 11, one Trump administration employee is leaving of her own free will. This as watchdog group calls for the firing of another aide. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders is stepping down from her post at the end of the month. She has been a close aide and strong defender of the president during her more than 2 years in the position. The president has not named a successor. We've learned the names of 2 men from the upstate who died when a small plane crashed into a lake in Florida. The Orange County, Florida medical examiner says Stanley Rampy and Raymond Dodd were killed when their plane went down before noon yesterday in Maitland. That's a suburb of Orlando. Stanley Rampy was a doctor at Prisma Health. It took crews hours to find the wreckage and pull it out of the water late last night. An animal hoarding situation was discovered in Anderson after crews were called to a house fire. Fire personnel responded to the home, but when they arrived and entered the house to battle the fire, they found 47 cats, 13 dogs, and 6 puppies. All of the animals were seized by animal control and brought to the Anderson Paws Animal Shelter. While some are burned, others are sick, and the shelter is asking the community for help.
It's such a drain on brain.
The number for Anderson Paws is there on your screen. You can also find a link for the shelter and more information on WSPA.com. NASA honored 3 of the women who helped to make space travel possible and the movie that shared their stories with the world. Officials unveiled this new designation for the street in front of its Washington headquarters. The roadway will now be known as Hidden Figures Way. The street shares its name with the best-selling book and the 2016 film that inspired the change. The book and movie tell the stories of human computers Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, and Mary Jackson. Their families attended today's ceremony.